Let's talk about Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals because the Arizona Cardinals are truly headed into the right direction. Now, it's going to take a couple of years for them to get to the ultimate destination with this team because they are in a tough division with the San Francisco 49ers, with the Los Angeles Rams, and even with the Seattle Seahawks. But they can be a hard team to beat within this division right now. Now, last season was a very interesting season for the Cardinals. It was the first season that Jonathan Gannon was the head coach because a couple of years before, and even the season before, Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach, and he was a terrible head coach with the Arizona Cardinals. Terrible offensive coordinator, and I do not believe that he was the right fit in the NFL at that time. He was not ready to be a head coach and definitely not ready to be the guy to come in and help try to develop Kyler Murray to the next level. I understand that he wanted to coach him up in college, and the Arizona Cardinals had high aspirations for him, but this was a guy, even at the college level, he did not have the most success. But bringing in Jonathan Gannon, you started to see some things turn around. They were in a lot of close football games that season, the season that we just came off of. And Kyler Murray missed majority of it dealing with that ACL injury that he was recovering from. Now, Kyler Murray did play in 8 games this season. He went 3-5, and he looked solid. 10 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and you know that he's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in terms of running the football and just being an explosive playmaker. But they were in the bottom of the league in terms of explosive plays by wide receivers and consistency by the wide receivers as a whole. So you hope that with them selecting Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first round, that it will help out the receiving room immediately. And their receivers were not bad per se. Marquise Brown missed time. That's a shocker, right? Even back with the Baltimore Ravens, that kid missed a lot of time dealing with injuries. And Marquise Brown is not a bad wide receiver, but he's no longer on this roster. He is now with the Kansas City Chiefs. And they traded the first round pick to go get Marquise Brown. Now, before I get more into the NFL draft, I do want to talk about some of the adjustments that Jonathan Gannon and the offensive coordinator Drew Petzing was able to make on the field without Kyler Murray and with Kyler Murray. We can go back to that game early in the season to where they defeated the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Jonathan Gannon was expected to go out there and give those teams hell because he's the former defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he matched up very well against the teams within that division. But at the same time, Cliff Kingsbury did not make as many adjustments as this coaching staff has made so far with the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon will go out there, run man one play, run zone the next play, and run combo coverage, and it will confuse the hell out of quarterbacks. It confused the hell out of Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and some of the quarterback within this own division. So I believe that Jonathan Gannon is going to be a very successful head coach of the Cardinals. It's just going to take some time because of the talent. They're still young. Yes, you have some veterans, but this is not the same roster that they had a couple of years ago when they had DeAndre Hopkins, Rodney Hudson at the center position, and when they had J.J. Watt. All those guys are gone. But as long as you have Kyler Murray and he can stay healthy, I think the Arizona Cardinals will be a tough team to beat in the NFC. But they had no business being in a lot of the games that they were in this season, even without Kyler Murray. Josh Dobbs looked solid. They moved off of Josh Dobbs. They traded him to the Minnesota Vikings to get a draft pick. And then when Kyler Murray came in, you saw the offense take a turn. The run game was better, and the wide receivers looked better as well because Kyler Murray is just the ultimate playmaker. And I do believe that Kyler Murray can be a top quarterback in the NFL. It's the reason why he got that contract extension. I know a lot of people, they like to call out Kyler Murray and say he doesn't like to work hard. He likes to play video games, but the talent is there. And like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, with them selecting Marvin Harrison Jr., who I believe is the best wide receiver and ultimately the best player in this NFL draft class, I think that you have your next franchise wide receiver for the next decade plus. Because you're pairing up Marvin Harrison Jr., who's coming off a great season with the Ohio State University. 1,211 receiving yards, 14 receiving touchdowns, and you're pairing him up with a guy in Michael Wilson who was solid this rookie season. Michael Wilson, if you give him some more catches, he could give you more production. 38 catches on the season for 565 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns, 15 yards a catch. And this is going to be a process with the Cardinals because, like I mentioned, a couple of years ago, they went all in. It didn't work out. They made that playoff appearance against the Rams in the second half. They were awful because of the lack of adjustments by Cliff Kingsbury. And to be real, that Rams team was just a better team overall, and they had better coaching. But you give this team some more time, to build through the NFL draft and to build through free agency, I think that they're building something special here with Kyler Murray. But back to Marvin Harrison Jr., perfect wide receiver, can run the full route tree, can burn cornerbacks, can do everything that you want. A lot of people are saying that he's the next Larry Fitzgerald with the Arizona Cardinals. That could be the case, but Larry Fitzgerald is an all-time legend with the Cardinals. I won't put those expectations on this kid because when Larry Fitzgerald first touched down in the league, he was already a dog. It may be a transition period for Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's going to be their number one wide receiver at the gate. This kid's going to face double coverage immediately because they don't have another option in the wide receiving room that can go out there and can be a consistent main stable. Michael Wilson can be that guy. He's still young. We will see. But I love the tight end that they have. Trey McBride was very good this season. Trey McBride was a top receiving tight end in the NFL, let alone the NFC. 81 catches, 825 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns on the season, and he averaged 10 yards a catch. If he can continue to develop at this level, you have 3 options now with Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, and Trey McBride. And all of a sudden, you have a dominant rushing attack with James Conner, who is a phenomenal running back. He's coming off a great season with the Arizona Cardinals. You look at his numbers, 1,040 rushing yards on the season, 7 rushing touchdowns. The man averaged 5 yards a carry. That's crazy. And they were doing that when they were stacking the box when they had Josh Dobbs. No offense to Josh Dobbs, but he's no Kyler Murray. So teams had to stop stacking the box when Kyler Murray came into the game because the one thing we know about Kyler Murray, he can extend the play. Now, he may not be able to throw the football deep down the middle of the field consistently enough, but when he gets outside the pocket, he can fully see the entire field. And one interesting stat is this. Over the last couple of years, he's done a better job at targeting the middle of the field, even though he is on the shorter side of being a quarterback. The one thing with Kyler Murray that irks me are the injuries, and he can't really help that. He's dealt with so many injuries in the past, ankle injuries, knee injuries. He just came off an ACL injury. But if he can stay on the field and he can consistently play at that level like how he played in the back half of this season, I really think that Kyler Murray could be regarded as a top 10 quarterback. Let's not forget that this kid is a phenomenal playmaker at that position, and it's the reason why he got that contract extension. They also added in another running back in the NFL draft as well, and Trey Benson. Now, Trey Benson is a running back from Florida State. Very good running back. You may ask yourself, why are they adding in a running back when they have James Conner? You can have a 1-2 punch at that running back position, and you add in the legs of Kyler Murray, which makes this offense hard as hell to guard with Drew Petzing because he's going to put Kyler Murray in a structured offense for the first time in his NFL career because that offense was not structured with Cliff Kingsbury. But you can have that 1-2 punch with James Conner, who is not the fastest running back. Even though he did average 5 yards a carry, the one thing about James Conner, he's going to run through people and fight for extra yardage. Trey Benson can go out there and be a more explosive runner. And he is not ready right now to take over that job to be the lead running back. He could be in the next 2 to 3 years. So bringing in a young running back in Trey Benson is only going to help out the rushing attack with the Arizona Cardinals. And if James Conner does go down, knock on wood, Trey Benson can come in for a couple of games and he can be that workhorse running back that can take the load off of James Conner. But if James Conner can stay fully healthy, you can mix both of those guys in, and it doesn't hurt to have a dominant rushing attack with a quarterback like Kyler Murray to work off of play action to get the football to Marvin Harrison Jr. even more and to Trey McBride. And they traded Rondale Moore to go get Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder as a starter is terrible. Desmond Ridder as a backup quarterback, he's fine. Him and Clayton Tune can battle it out to see who'll be the backup quarterback. You also have Greg Dortch at the wide receiver 3 position. I want to give him some respect. He's 25 years old. He's pretty much a finished product at this point. Solid wide receiver. He's not going to come out and have over 600 yards receiving in a season, but he is a guy that can give you some very good production, so don't sleep on him. They also selected a franchise tackle in last year's draft class and Paris Johnson Jr. I love Paris Johnson Jr. more than some other people. Some people say that he still has a lot of growing up to do on the field in terms of just being a finished product, but he looked very good for the last 6 games of the season. And I do think that Paris Johnson Jr. will be that franchise tackle with the Arizona Cardinals. Since Kyler Murray has gotten drafted here, the offensive line has not been the best. That's why they had to go out and trade for Rodney Hudson a couple of years ago at the center position. Let Paris Johnson Jr. continue to develop, and I believe that the offensive line is heading to the right direction. And they also spent some draft picks on the offensive line as well. So I really do believe that the Arizona Cardinals are heading in the right direction with this general manager and this head coach as a whole. When I talk about this offensive line, the third round with the 71st pick, they selected Isaiah Adams, tackle from Illinois. He plays some guard as well. He could come in and be a very good versatile piece alongside Paris Johnson Jr. long term. I think he'll be good. Right now, he is raw, but he can come on the field and give you very good snaps. He may just give us some big plays here and there to some of the faster defensive ends or some of the faster and quicker defensive tackles. But I believe that he could be a very good offensive lineman moving forward, and he can help protect Kyler Murray. The thing is with the Cardinals, just continue to build around Kyler Murray. You gave him that contract extension. He was the first pick of the draft many years ago. Just see what you can really do with this kid with the right coaching staff and putting him in a structured offense with Drew Petzing. Now, you know that they're going to have to go out there and get some defensive players as well. Even though I love the offensive picks that they made in this draft, they went heavy on the defensive side because in the first round, the 27th overall pick, this is the draft pick that they got from the Houston Texans a year ago. They selected Darius Robinson, edge rusher from Missouri. He's listed as an edge rusher, but he's an ultimate defensive lineman. This man is 6'5", 285 pounds. He can bend the edge, but he can also play defensive tackle. And they need more pass rushers like this within the Arizona Cardinals organization because the way that Jonathan Gannon helped build up that defense with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was known to do two things with the Eagles: play phenomenal coverage on the back end, but also have a lot of defensive linemen up front that can move around from defensive tackle to defensive end, that can go out there and impact the run, and they can impact the pass as well. That is what Darius Robinson is going to do from Missouri. 6'5", 285 pounds, 36 total pressures, 22 quarterback hurries, and 8 sacks. It's crazy how he can bend the edge, and he's that huge of a man. And that's a phenomenal first-round pick. Not too many people were talking about him going in the first round, but he fits Jonathan Gannon's system to the T. And I do believe that he will have a very productive rookie season. He could easily be defensive rookie of the year if you're not careful about how you go about trying to guard him up front with him and B.J. Ojulari, who is also a guy that you selected in last year's draft class who had 4 sacks on the season. And it's crazy to see how good the defense played down the end of the stretch against teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, against teams like the Washington Commanders, and also the Steelers and the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons game was the first game back that Kyler Murray came in, and we saw how dynamic of a playmaker he was. As soon as he comes back, they're winning football games again. And their defense played very good, especially on Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And that was just because of the schematics of Jonathan Gannon. So you're getting players to fit his system right now. You expect for him to play better. But like I mentioned, B.J. Ojulari is a very good pass rusher. I think that he will continue to get better as his career progresses with the Cardinals. Xavier Collins needs to have that breakout season this upcoming season. He's been a solid playmaker, hasn't been great. He's a former first-round pick. He may go into the same category with guys like Isaiah Simmons. They didn't know how to use Isaiah Simmons. Now, Isaiah Simmons was just a complete bust. He has some good games here and there, but the kid didn't know if he was either a safety or a linebacker at this level. Xavier Collins, pass rusher / linebacker, I think the best bet for him to break out would be underneath a guy like Jonathan Gannon that specializes in using players like this. We will see. But you also have Justin Jones, who's a solid defensive tackle, can push the pocket, can go out there and stop the run as well, 4.5 sacks on the season. They also went out there in the NFL draft, and they went out and they tried to go out and basically solve some of their secondary needs. In the third round, I love this draft pick for what they did. Well, in the second round, with the 43rd pick, I love what they did. They selected Max Melton, cornerback from Rutgers, 6 foot, 187 pounds, press man corner, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups on the season. They just stopped throwing his way. He could have easily won the first round if this cornerback class was not as deep and top heavy. They stopped throwing this kid's way in college. The one thing about that Philadelphia Eagles defense years ago, they pride themselves on getting defensive pressure and playing press man coverage. He fits this to a T, especially in this division with guys like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. You want to have some of those aggressive corners up front that can press up on some of the wide receivers, especially a guy like Deebo Samuel who struggles against the press. He's not your traditional wide receiver. But you have to go out there and try to build up your defense because of how tough this division is. And especially with guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I love that they went heavy on the defensive side of the ball as well. Because in order to have some success in this division, you have to be able to run the football and play great defense. It's not just enough for the Cardinals to go out there and just stop the run. You also have to be very strong against the pass as well. Budda Baker, we know that he's going to hold things down. He's one of the better safeties in the NFL when he is fully healthy. They also selected Elijah Jones, the cornerback from Boston College, basically a clone of Max Melton. Can come in, play press man coverage, can play in the nickel, a very versatile defensive player that will come in and give you very good depth immediately and can be a true starter in the next couple of years with the Cardinals. Could really be a true starter right now if he really needed to be. They also picked up Sean Murphy-Bunting in free agency, who's coming off a solid season with the Tennessee Titans, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 8 pass deflections. You need to have some veterans around to help out these young kids and try to get these kids to the next level. So I love them picking him up as well. And Sean Murphy-Bunting is only 26 years old. He's going to continue to get better. With him being in his 20s, it's crazy with how good he is right now. And he's not a true number 1 cornerback, but he can come in and give you very good production behind a front 7 that can get a lot of pressure immediately with the Arizona Cardinals are hoping for. The linebackers are solid. Kazir White is coming off a very good year. 53 solo tackles. He had 2 sacks, 1 interception. Not one of the best linebackers in the NFL, but he's solid for what he can do with the Arizona Cardinals and with this system with Jonathan Gannon. Mack Wilson is also a guy that you're bringing over as well. 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, just a solid veteran to have around. Some of these guys are just here to fill in the roster and just give you very good production. You're not going to find one of those true thumpers in this linebacking room just yet, but they can develop into being in that situation. You also have Garrett Williams at that cornerback spot. Didn't do much his rookie season, but I do believe that he can be very good moving forward as well. A lot of this is just based off of potential with the Cardinals. The thing is with Garrett Williams, he had a couple of good games here and there, but he's only 22 years old. And that's the thing with this team. That's why I say give them a couple of years. They're very young. Yes, you have some veterans that you could pluck out and say, hey, he's been around the NFL for a couple of years, but you don't have too many guys on this roster that's over the age of 27 or over the age of 28. They're a young football team. You can say the same thing about the Rams, but the Rams have a lot of veterans, and they have a veteran quarterback. The thing gives the San Francisco 49ers, they're just a complete unit, but they have some veterans on that offensive line. So that's why I mentioning before, some of the teams in this division, they're older than the Cardinals and they're more experienced. So it's going to be hard for the Cardinals to go out there and compete with them over and over again. But at the same time, you have a guy like Jonathan Gannon that can prepare you for the opposition. I think you'll be in a better situation with Jonathan Gannon than you ever were with Cliff Kingsbury. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Arizona Cardinals and can they compete right now in this division? And how do you feel about their NFL draft picks? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless.